Okay, for our first session on power hand tools, we're going to be discussing and learning about the circular saw, or most commonly called in our region a Skilsaw. The name is interchangeable. The Skilsaw, circular saw, it's an extension of your arm. Every trained carpenter, every successful carpenter must know how A, to set up and maintain the Skilsaws, and B, how to use them safely, efficiently, and with great accuracy. What I want to show you this session here is the first part, and that's maintaining the Skilsaw. So first let's take a look at the two different types that are out there. And we'll start with this one on my right hand side. This one is probably common to maybe a few of you. I would call it kind of a homeowner saw. But what's interesting about this style of saw, it's used primarily on the East Coast of the United States. We call this one a sidewinder saw out here in our region. Works the same as any other Skilsaw. The motor, basically a direct drive to the blade. With this saw, we can do a couple operations. We can tilt the blade, in this case up to about 45-degree angle. We can also change the blade depth, and that handle's right back here. If I loosen this, I can change how much of the blade is going to be exposed when I do my cut. Normally, when we're cutting solid material, such as a 2x4 or even a 4x4 beam, you're going to run the Skilsaw with the blade at its full depth. If and when you're cutting sheet goods, such as plywood, OSB, anything under 1.5 inches, it's best to adjust the blade so that just enough of the blade sticks below the piece of material you're cutting, up to about 1/4 inch. And we'll explain later on when I show you how to use the Skilsaws. So this is the side one. Pretty much maintenance free, but the only thing you would do on this saw on a regular basis probably is change the blade if and when it gets dull. Clean it off occasionally, but other than that, there's really not a lot you have to do to these type of saws. Our next type of saw, over here, we call this is Skilsaw. Now Skilsaw is a brand, so it's just, again, in our region, that's what everybody calls it. Proper name, circular saw. Skilsaw is what we'll call it in the class. But this one's a whole different saw. First thing you're going to notice right away, it is going to be heavier. If I were to lift these two together, this one's probably about 1 pound plus more. And it's designed for that. At the same time, it has a different drive system than the sidewinder saw. Again, this one, the motor is right connected to the blade. This one, down in here, actually has a gearbox. It's a worm drive. So, in addition just to changing the blade, we have to make sure we're checking the oil, just like you check the oil in your car, to make sure it's full and clean. Now, notice the first difference, what do you see different about these two saws? And I'll turn them towards you. Did you notice that on this particular saw, the blade is on what I'm going to call the right-hand side? On the sidewinder, it's on the left-hand side. And again, the way they're designed, left-handed blade on this side, right-hand blade on this side, it does affect how you have to operate and sight your line when you're cut. And again, later on when we start to practice on that, we'll go in more detail. So, we've seen this saw, okay? And it's there, available for your use, but we're going to slide it out of the way. 99% of the carpenters out here from Montana, Washington, Idaho, Oregon, this is the Skilsaw of choice on the job site. So that's why we train you on this particular saw in this program. This one, to me it almost feels awkward to run that saw, but I've been doing this more than 40 years. So I can cut with this, but this one's more comfortable, I'm more efficient with it, and again, the one we use. So, with that, let's go through and see what it takes to maintain this type of Skilsaw, again, the worm drive.